Okay, what is up YouTube, Zen Rahman? And today I'm finally doing a video on carb cycling. And before I begin, not a certified nutritionist or dietitian or fitness trainer, not one of those things. I just managed to get myself from being a 40% body fat piece of shit to between 15 and 20% body fat now with a lot more muscle, way fitter, okay, way healthier, feeling way better. And like I said, I managed to do this without working with any professionals. So I did this only depending on legitimate knowledge. So if you listen to what I have to say, you will gain this knowledge for yourself. Only if you choose to believe me, of course. Okay, now carb cycling. Before I begin, I'll share some pictures from one of my Instagram posts. I have a lot more stuff on my Instagram. My handle is Radio Protector. The link is in the description. If you aren't following me yet, go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram. So there are three pictures. All these were taken in a time period of 4 months. Okay, and this is when I started carb cycling. So just to give you an idea about what the results are like. All right, so the first picture is from November 2019, and here you can see a bit of muscles, whatever, some development in the rear delts, side delts, some traps from the front, bit of development in the lower back that you can see. And moving on to the next picture, which is from the next month after I had started carb cycling, December 2019. So you can see a lot more definition on here. There's more volume to the muscle. So when you see more definition, that means you've been losing body fat because you can see your muscles better when you start to lose fat. All right, the third picture. Okay, I think my muscles look way more defined here. You can visually see that the body fat is way lesser, and there's a good amount of volume to the muscle. This is from February 2020, and the muscle is starting to look actually thick in some places. So that was the kind of progress I gained from doing carb cycling, and I think it's a brilliant idea. It's revolutionary. And who can do carb cycling? Well, primarily someone who wants to gain muscle and lose weight simultaneously. Now, some people will tell you this is not possible. If you want to lose fat, you need to cut. If you want to build muscle, you need to bulk. But it might be a longer process doing both of them simultaneously, but I do it. I do it successfully, and you can too. And carb cycling can be a very effective way for you to reach your goals towards fat loss and muscle gain at the same time. The goal is to lose fat while building muscle. You can do carb cycling, or for someone who wants to be on a lean bulk, bulking without getting sloppy and getting fat. You can try carb cycling, and also someone who wants to main gain, as Coach Greg would say, which basically means you stay at the body fat percentage you are at and continue to build muscle. So main gaining. So basically, what carb cycling allows you to do is to build muscle while you lose fat, because you are simultaneously creating an environment of growth, of hypertrophy, of muscle building, and also fat loss. And for those of you who are in a spot where you want to lose body fat, where you want to lose weight, you would want to keep your overall calories in a deficit, okay, less calories than you need for maintenance. So your overall calories for the week should be in a deficit, okay. I'll go more into that as I progress with this video. Someone who wants to maintain or just maintain a good shape year round and continue to build muscle, you would want your overall calories to be around your maintenance number. For someone who obviously wants to bulk, your overall calories would need to be in a bit of a surplus. Okay, so to explain how carb cycling works, I'll put up my training split routine again, but this time I have added my carbohydrate distribution for the week to it. So let's take a look at it. So my leg days and back days, they are the high carb days, and these are the days that I'm having a higher amount of carbohydrates. The shoulders and abs days and arm days are moderate carb days, so I'm having a moderate amount of carbohydrates on these days. And the chest day, moderately high carb day, so the carbs are higher than moderate amount, but not quite as high as on my leg days and back days. The rest days are low carb days, and I'll go into why it is so. Okay, so which days can you make your high carb days? Well, like I'm doing, these can be days when you're training your bigger body parts, like your legs and back. They're your biggest body parts that you train in a bodybuilding split. So these are the days that can be high carb days because these are the larger muscle groups. They would need a higher amount of nutrients. You would need more energy to be able to train them in a good way. So these can be your high carb days, or you can do higher carbs on any day where you're training a body part which you're trying to bring up. So suppose your arms are lagging behind your other body parts. So this can be a day where you fuel your arms with more nutrition and to get a good amount of growth to help them catch up with your other body parts. And so this is another day that you can do higher carbs, some body part that you're trying to bring up. Or what you can do is have higher carbs on your most intense training days. So whichever body parts or whichever days you're training the most intense, all right, you need a good amount of fuel. So you get this fuel in the form of higher amount of carbohydrates. Okay, so that's something else that you can do. Okay, so your high carb days can be the days you train your bigger body parts, the days you train a body part that you're trying to bring up that is lagging behind, or the days where you're doing your most intense training. And sometimes it can be the days where, in most cases, it would be the days that you're training your bigger body parts, but whatever, you get the idea. High carb days for me, my moderate carbohydrate intake is 200 grams of carbs a day. Okay, and the higher carb days are a bit over that, maybe around 250 300 grams of carbs, because overall I'm trying to remain in a deficit. So my overall calories for the week, I want that to be in a deficit. All right, so that's how it is with me. If you're trying to main gain, like I said, you would want your overall calories to be around the maintenance number. If you're trying to bulk, you would want to be in a bit of a surplus to create that ideal environment for muscle building, for growth. This high carb number would be different for everyone. Okay, for some people, higher carbs could be 400 grams of carbs. For some people, 400 grams of carbs could be a moderate amount of carbs. For some people, higher carbs would be 1,000 grams of carbs. For some people, it might be 200. So that all depends on your energy expenditure and your calorie intake, wherever it needs to be. So it will vary from person to person. So just take your moderate carb intake and then plan your carb cycle around that. And something else also I feel that the carb cycle helps you with is that when you're having a higher volume of food, uh, larger amount of carbohydrates on some days, then a moderate on the other days, then you're a bit full from all the food from the 2 days, and then you want to do a lower carb day on your rest day. And again, what I'm doing is having moderate carbs on the days when I'm training the relatively smaller body parts, okay, like the shoulders, abs, arms, that kind of a thing. On my chest day, of course, it's not as big as my legs and back, and but I'm still training pretty intensely, and it is a relatively larger body part, so I'm having moderately high carbs on these days, all right. And so my moderate carb intake, like I said, is around 200 grams of carbs. On my rest days or the lower carb days, I'm having 100 grams of carbs. Now, again, for some people, this lower carb amount might be 50 grams. For some people, it might be 200 grams. For some people, it might be 400 grams. So, again, that depends on what your moderate intake is and what your calories are, and however you choose to distribute your macros and calorie intake. So, okay, so it will vary from person to person, but what you're trying to do is, again, fueling the bigger body parts that you're training with a higher amount of carbohydrates than for the moderate sized body parts. You're doing a moderate amount of carbs, or however you want to set up your own carb cycle. And on the rest days you need lower amount of carbs, because you're not training. Your energy expenditure, it won't quite be the same as your training days, so you don't really need that higher amount of carbohydrates. Okay, so your body goes into a state of shock, all right, because it's used to the carbohydrate intake from all your meals, typically on your training days. So it goes into your fat storage to pull the extra energy to meet that maintenance calorie number. Okay, so this is how you're inducing a good environment for fat loss, for weight loss, by being in a deficit overall, and being in a good deficit, in a large deficit on your lower carb days. On your rest days, since you're not training, you can afford to make them lower carb days. All right, and then again, you give your body a deal of fuel on a higher amount of carbohydrates on your training days, and that's how the cycle keeps going. Now, one more thing the carb cycle allows you to get past is metabolic breakdown. Metabolic breakdown is slightly complicated, and I don't want to go too much into it, but for those of you who might have an idea about it, or for those of you who can relate, or whatever, it is when your metabolism slows down because you are consistently in a calorie deficit. So that is not your body's goal, to be lean. Okay, going back to the mind of the body, all right, your body's need, its instinct is to survive. All right, so when it senses that you've been practically living in a calorie deficit, it starts to slow down your metabolism a little bit, and then you won't be processing your calories as fast, and your metabolism, basically, it will slow down. So that is something called metabolic breakdown. But with a carb cycle, you're really kickstarting your metabolism with the higher carb days. Okay, so your metabolism starts going fast because your body does not sense an environment of starvation anymore. Okay, it senses an amplitude of food, plenty of food. Okay, so it keeps processing them fast, and then you use this fast metabolism to process lesser amount of calories with the moderate carb and lower carb days. Okay, so this is how you can set up your own carb cycle. Like I said, you can have higher carbs on days you're training most intense, or days you're training your bigger body parts, or on the days you're training a body part that you're trying to bring up, because this is when your body will be utilizing the nutrients, the carbohydrates, for fuel, and in a good way, and for you to progress in the direction that you want to progress. Okay, and then again, you maintain a environment of being in a deficit, or of losing weight, or maintaining your weight with the lower carb days, with the calorie deficit, and of course, whatever your goal is overall, your overall calories for the week, it should be in accordance with that. So be in a surplus for the week if your goal is to gain muscle, gain weight, and if you're trying to maintain your overall calories for the week, whatever that intake is based on your body, your energy expenditure, and all these things, you'll want to be around maintenance. And for those who want to lose weight, overall you want to be in a deficit. So your total calories for the week, whatever that intake is supposed to be, you should be in a good deficit for the week to continue losing fat. And with the higher carb, higher calorie days, you continue to maintain an environment for growth. So you grow and lose fat at the same time. And like I've demonstrated with my pictures from my Instagram, I think it's a very effective way. A lot of successful fitness personalities practice carb cycling, and they maintain their physiques or wherever they want to be at. Okay, so you can use carb cycling for a lot of purposes. It has worked great for me. Okay, and maybe it's something you can integrate into your own plan, and see how you feel, see how you go. And yeah, I guess that was it for me. So let me know in the comments what you thought about the video, what you took from it. I hope you gained some quality knowledge, some good information, and like the video, share it with someone who it might help. Okay, follow me on Instagram if you haven't subscribed to my channel. Thanks for watching. Let me know what else I should talk about, and I will see you next time.